Can you hazard a guess how much money the Liberal government spent during the recent election campaign? I don't mean as a party trying to win our votes with advertising and promotions, rallies and that sort of thing. I mean how much money they spent on running the government. In a 37-day campaign, they spent nearly $70 billion. And that's all without any parliamentary oversight. $70 billion in a 37-day campaign works out to over $1.9 billion a day. Now, on a good day, the federal government spends about $1.5 billion anyway. But they were spending $400 million a day in unapproved spending over the entire 37-day campaign. It's the most ever spent by a government when Parliament isn't sitting, by a government while there's a campaign going on. The most ever spent in Canadian history. It's appalling. It really is. There's no parliamentary oversight to that. And now, François-Philippe Champagne, who is the new finance minister, says there's not going to be a budget until maybe November or December. So they spent all of this money. They're going to continue to spend outrageous amounts of money, and they're not going to have a budget. They're not going to show you where that money should be spent. They're not going to show you what the deficit's going to look like. They're not going to have it approved by Parliament. All of this spending is being done without parliamentary approval. And, you see Mark Carney, the new prime minister, he sits down one day and he signs something saying that the carbon tax will go down to zero. And then he signs something else saying there's going to be a 1% middle-class income tax cut. Nobody knows what it is he's signing because we don't have executive orders. He watches Trump. He's decided to be as Trumpy as Trump. He's decided that, well, if Trump can sign executive orders, I can too. We don't have that in Canada. The only signature that matters on legislation is the Governor General's. And I'm not some ancient royalist who has all sorts of sympathy and sentimentality towards the Governor General. I don't really care. But you can't have the Prime Minister sign something and have it be legally binding. It doesn't work. That's not how we do things in Canada. And for somebody who spent the entire campaign talking about, how we have to preserve Canada, we have to preserve Canadianism, we have to get our elbows up when it comes to the Americans, why is he aping the Americans? There has been no accountability to speak of on a couple of other occasions too. Well, first of all, we've been 5 months now. Parliament will come back next week. But we've been 5 months without a parliament, closer to 6. They rose for the Christmas break. Then while they were out on the Christmas break, Trudeau prorogued them. Then the prorogation ended and they called an election so they wouldn't have to go back into session. So the Liberals have had nearly 6 months where they've not had to face the opposition. And now they want to have an extra 6 months before they have to bring in a budget. Now, between 2019 and 2021, they went 25 months. This gap would be 18 or 19 months. It's bad enough. But why do they get away with this? Why is it possible to spend hundreds of billions of taxpayers' dollars without having any kind of accountability in Parliament? When you hear Mark Carney or some other Liberal say, they're all about transparency, they're all about making government accountable to people, laugh. Because it's laughable when they make those promises. They have no interest in democratic transparency, no interest in democratic accountability, and they prove it again and again and again. For Post Media, I'm Lorne Gunter.